started with a flicker, just a shadow right across the street, behind the curtain of the blue house with the dying rose bush out front. I wouldn't have thought much of it, except it happened again. And again, same time, same window, same person. You don't notice these things when you first move into a neighborhood. You're too busy unpacking boxes, finding the nearest gas station, trying not to burn your first microwave meal because the oven hasn't been installed yet. You don't notice someone staring at you from across the street. Until you do. I moved into Bellwood Hills 3 months ago. It was supposed to be a new start. Quiet, clean, friendly neighbors, dog walkers, birdsong at 6 a.m. The kind of place where everyone waves, but no one asks questions. The kind of place where you think, maybe I'll finally feel safe. And for a little while, I did. I hung wind chimes by the back porch, painted my kitchen cabinets pale green, started leaving my blinds open to catch the morning sun. That's probably when it started, when I got comfortable, when I let myself feel seen. His name is Marcus Langley, the HOA president, lives directly across from me, drives a black SUV, lawn always perfectly edged, and he never waves back. The first time I noticed him watching me, it was 11:17 p.m. I remember because I had just finished a late Zoom call and went to close the blinds. And there he was, in the window, lights off behind him, just standing, motionless, not even pretending to look away. I thought maybe I imagined it. I mean, who watches their neighbors at night? That's not real. That's Netflix. But the second night, same thing. Third night, I tested it, stared right back, didn't flinch, and neither did he. I started keeping track in my journal. March 8 to 11:17 p.m., standing. March 9 to 11:16 p.m., standing. March 10th, no sign. March 11 to 11:15 p.m., standing. Always in the same place. Always after 11. Always looking into my window. It was creepy, but also kind of fascinating. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Not legally, not technically. Just looking. Until the morning, I found a note in my mailbox. Typed, no envelope, just one line. You should close your curtains at night. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared, but because I wasn't sure if I should be. So I did what any mildly unhinged yet paranoid adult would do. I Googled him. Marcus Langley, Bellwood Hills HOA president. Served 9 years. No kids. Never married. One neighborhood compliance award 3 years in a row. What even is that? No social media. No LinkedIn. Just crisp polos and community updates. I decided to confront him. Not aggressively. Just neighbor to neighbor. Clear the air. Let him know I noticed. That maybe he should stop. Or at least pretend to stop. He answered the door after exactly 2 knocks. Like he was waiting. Hi, I said. I live across the street. He nodded. I know. A pause. Longer than it should have been. Is everything all right? I asked, trying to smile. Another pause. Then, you should really close your curtains at night. My stomach tightened. I got your note, I said slowly. He looked me straight in the eye. I didn't leave it. I laughed nervously. You're saying someone else wrote that? I'm saying, he replied, that if I wrote, I would have signed it. He stepped forward slightly. I'm also saying that most people in this neighborhood keep their private moments private. And then he smiled, for the first time, but not in a kind way. That night, I kept the curtains closed, but I still peeked, just once. And there he was, 11:17 p.m., still watching, except this time, he waved. I don't know what this is yet. Obsession? Paranoia? A warning? But something tells me this isn't just about curtains. And Marcus Langley isn't just a bored old man with too much time on his hands. Because when I walked by his house this morning, I noticed something in his window, a photograph of me from last week, standing in my kitchen, wearing that same green shirt. And I never gave that to anyone, not even online. Something is very wrong in Bellwood Hills. And I don't know if I just uncovered it, or if I've already been chosen. What would you do if your HOA president watched you and had a photo of you never gave them? Tell me in the comments. Like if you'd confront him. Share if you'd warn others. Subscribe to see how far this gets. Because next part, it gets darker. Much darker. I didn't sleep much after the photo. You wouldn't either. Seeing yourself, frozen in time, inside someone else's house, when you never even knew they had a camera on you. It changes something. Not just how you see the world, but how the world sees you. Suddenly, everything feels staged. Everything is surveillance, even silence. I told myself maybe I was overreacting. Maybe it was just a photo, a coincidence, an illusion caused by the reflection of my own paranoia. But then the mail came, and everything changed again. It was a small white envelope, no return address, typed again, same as a curtain note. Inside, one sentence: stop looking or I'll stop pretending. I sat on the edge of my couch, staring at it. No movement, no breathing, just dread. Not the kind that screams, the kind that seeps in, the kind that knows. I took it to the police station, showed the officer the note, and told him about Marcus. Told him everything. The staring, the waving, the photo. He nodded politely, took the note, filed a report. Then he said, well, he hasn't done anything illegal. Right, of course. Staring isn't a crime. Waving isn't a threat. Photos, well, if taken from public view, not unlawful either. Apparently, unless he was inside my home, which I knew he wasn't, right? So I went home, shut the blinds, locked the doors, downloaded one of those indoor security camera apps on my phone. I needed to know if he could watch me, maybe I could watch him. But that's when things started happening inside my house. Small things, barely noticeable. Keys moved slightly on the hook. The dish towel folded a different way. Curtain rod tilted an inch left. You'd think I was crazy. Maybe I was. But crazy people don't notice details. They ignore them. And I was noticing everything. On a hunch, I did something I hadn't done since I moved in. I checked the attic. It took 30 minutes to get the hatch open. Another 10 to climb the rickety stepladder. And when I reached the top, the dust hit my throat like dry paper. But in the corner, behind an old box of insulation and what looked like a previous owner's suitcase, there was a lockbox, metal, heavy, with my name scratched into the lid. Not printed, not labeled, scratched, like someone used a key or a knife. I stared at it for a long time, didn't touch it, didn't want to, because deep down I already knew this wasn't mine. This wasn't left by me. This was placed for me, or maybe by me. I finally opened it the next morning. Had to use a screwdriver to wedge it open. Inside, 3 things. A photograph of me from behind, walking into my backyard, time-stamped 6 days ago. A thumb drive labeled MH_VR_01. A folded note. The note was short. You're not the first, but you can be the last. M. Marcus? Midnight? Me? I plugged the USB into my old work laptop. It took a minute to load. 1 video file. Grainy footage. No sound. It showed the inside of my living room from above, as if recorded from a vent. A vent I never noticed. And in the corner of the frame, standing in the shadows, was me, or someone who looked exactly like me. Except I was asleep on the couch at the same time. I remembered that night. I had fallen asleep after binging a true crime doc. So who the hell was that? Or worse. What? I paused the video, leaned back, tried not to throw up, but I couldn't stop the chill, because that meant someone had been in my house. Not just recently, but comfortably. So much so, they moved like they lived there. And then it hit me. The keys, the curtain rod, the folded dish towel. Not mistakes. Reminders. Signals. That someone wanted me to notice. To know. To play. That night, I left the curtains open again. For the first time in days. I wanted him to see me. I wanted to see him. I sat in the dark. 11:10, 11:12, 11:15, and right on schedule, the shadow moved in his window. I stood, he stood. We stared across the divide. 2 houses, 2 watchers, 2 games. I lifted the note from the lockbox, pressed it against the glass. Let him read it. Let him know that I knew. He didn't move, didn't flinch. But this time, he wasn't alone. Another shadow moved behind him. Just a flash, a figure, gone in an instant. And I swear, it looked like me. I couldn't sleep after that. Instead, I started searching public records. Anything tied to Marcus Langley, HOA meeting logs, security complaints, past owners of his property. And that's when I found it. An old report from 2009, filed by a woman who used to live across from him. Same house I live in now. She filed a harassment complaint, said he watched her, said she found planted objects, said she saw her own face in a photo she didn't remember taking. No follow-up, no charges. But in her final note, she wrote, "There's something in the mirror that looks like me, but it's not." My hands went cold because on my hallway wall, there's an antique mirror the realtor said was built into the home, original frame. I had looked at it a dozen times, never thought much, until now. I covered it that night with a bedsheet, and somewhere in the distance, I heard it, a knock, not at the door, not on the glass, from inside the house, soft, deliberate, and then nothing. I stood in the living room until morning, and when the sun finally rose, there was another note in the mailbox, typed, folded twice, same font. This one said, "Do not look behind the mirror, unless you want to remember." And suddenly, the idea that I was just being watched seemed like the least of my problems. Because what if the thing watching me used to be me? If you found a video of yourself walking through your house, but you were asleep at the same time, would you want to know who or what it was? Share your thoughts in the comments, like if you'd investigate. Share if this gave you chills. Subscribe to see what's behind the mirror in next part. I didn't open the mirror that morning. I wanted to, but something about that note, "Do not look behind the mirror, unless you want to remember," stayed with me like a warning, but also a dare. All day I avoided it, did laundry I didn't need to do, reorganized the spice rack, watched a 5-hour documentary on national parks. Anything to keep from walking down the hallway to that old, warped mirror. But by midnight, I cracked, not from bravery, from exhaustion, from needing the silence to stop scratching inside my brain. So I went to it, hands shaking, heart pounding like I was already falling, and I pulled the sheet away. It was still just a mirror, just glass, silvered backing, heavy frame carved with ivy vines. But my reflection, it wasn't right, not delayed, not twisted, just wrong. I raised my hand. My reflection raised his, but a moment too late, a flicker of lag, or something else entirely. I leaned closer, and he smiled. Before I did, I stumbled back, knocking over the hallway table. The sound snapped me out of it. I turned on every light in the house. I was sweating, shaking, furious. I wanted to break it, shatter the glass, smash the frame until the vines bled splinters. But something held me back. Maybe it was the idea that if the mirror could show me a version of myself that wasn't really me, then maybe it had answers. I went to bed with every lamp on, didn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling and tried not to blink. And at 3:08 a.m., I heard footsteps. Inside, soft, careful, measured. I held my breath. They moved from the hallway to the living room, then back, and then silence. No door opened, no window creaked. Just that feeling that someone had been walking my floorboards while I lay frozen. In the morning, I checked the mirror again, and now there was something behind the glass. Not a reflection, a slit, barely visible, running vertically, just off-center, like a hidden door built into the mirror itself. And the frame? I noticed tiny etchings on the side I hadn't before. 3 numbers, engraved faintly into the wood. 3, 2, 1. I pressed against the slit. No give. I tapped in that order. 3 times, 2 times, once. Nothing. Then I flipped it. 1, 2, 3. Still nothing. But when I stepped back, the mirror fogged, just for a second, like someone breathed on the inside of the glass. And then it cracked. A single fracture, right through the center. Not broken, not shattered, just opened as if the house had decided it was time. The mirror tilted slightly forward, releasing a slow creak, and behind it, a compartment. Rough wood, insulated edges, and inside, a stack of VHS tapes. Dusty, labeled in sharp block handwriting, each one with a name. Jenny, 2003. Tomas, 2007. Erica, 2011. Leo, 2014. Elias, 2019. And one more, Reed, 2023. My name. I didn't own a VHS player, but I knew who might. Across the street, Marcus Langley, HOA president, watcher, and possibly collector. I stared at those tapes for a long time, running my fingers over each label, each date, and then I noticed something else. Each name had once lived in this neighborhood. I remembered seeing some on old HOA newsletters I found when I moved in. I hadn't thought anything of it until now, until their names appeared behind a mirror in my house, filed like memories or trophies or warnings. I took the Reed 2023 tape, held it like it was radioactive. My mind screamed not to, but my curiosity had stopped listening days ago. I didn't take it to Marcus. I didn't trust him with something that personal, something that intimate. Instead, I posted in a local online group. Anyone got an old working VHS player I can borrow? Emergency nostalgia trip. Within 10 minutes, someone replied. A woman named Grace on Elm Street said she kept one in her garage. I picked it up within the hour. Didn't tell her why I needed it. Didn't ask why she still had it. I just took it home, plugged it in, slipped the tape in, and pressed play. The footage was silent, grainy, timestamp, July 19th, 2023, 3:11 a.m. My house, living room angle, same as a USB video. A figure entered frame. It was me, or again, someone who looked exactly like me. Same build, same clothes, but there was something off. The way he moved, stiff, like his joints didn't quite work. He walked to the center of the room, sat down, and stared right at the camera, right through it, right at me, and then he smiled. A slow, creeping smile that never reached the eyes, and whispered something. I couldn't hear it. No sound, but I could read his lips. I was here first. The tape stopped, just cut off, black screen, nothing else. And that was somehow worse than anything, because now I had confirmation. Whatever this was, it wasn't just watching me. It was trying to replace me, to become me. Or maybe it already had. I paced for hours. I couldn't decide which was more terrifying, that someone was impersonating me, or that maybe I was the imposter, because lately I'd been forgetting things, small things, where I put my keys, what day it was, the time I thought I sent an email but never did. What if? No, I know who I am. I'm Reed. I moved here for peace. I saw Marcus watching me. I found the lockbox. I found the mirror. This is happening to me, right? The next morning, I opened my front door to go breathe in some fresh air, and there, sitting neatly on my porch, was another envelope, typed. This one read, "The real question isn't whether I'm watching you. It's whether you are watching yourself." And now I think the house is listening, because the mirror, it's cracking again, only this time from the inside. I didn't touch the mirror again after the second crack. Not for 2 days. Not even to look at my reflection. Because by then, I didn't trust what I'd see, or what might look back. The crack had widened, barely, just enough to shift the way light bent across the glass. Now when I walked by, I could see two of me, one standing straight, one just a beat behind, off-tempo, like a marionette with a lazy puppeteer. I tried to be rational, try to remind myself that paranoia doesn't mean something's real. But the notes weren't paranoia. The photo wasn't paranoia. The tape wasn't paranoia. And neither was what I saw last night when I looked across the street at Marcus's house. For weeks, I'd seen him in that window, like clockwork, watching me, responding to my fear. But last night, it wasn't him. The figure in the window was shorter, hair thicker, silhouette slimmer, and the head, it didn't tilt like Marcus's did. It twitched, suddenly, repeatedly, like something glitching through a nervous system it didn't belong to. Then it was gone. No movement, no wave, no shadow, just empty curtains. And the sickening feeling that Marcus Langley was gone too, or worse, not alone. I spent the next morning trying to call the HOA. No answer. Not from the office. Not from a number on the monthly flyer. I even tried going to Marcus's house. Knocked. Waited. No reply. But I felt something behind that door. The kind of quiet that's too still. The kind that watches you breathe and counts your heartbeats. I circled to the backyard. Peered through the slats of his fence. The lawn was overgrown. Not wildly. Just subtly, like it had been maintained perfectly for years, and then abandoned for exactly 2 weeks. The grass was growing, but no one was tending. No one was pretending anymore. I walked back toward the street. Something on his front porch caught my eye. A box, unmarked, cardboard, taped shut, sitting just beside his welcome mat, like it had been forgotten or placed. The temptation was immediate, and so was the dread. But I couldn't leave it, not when everything else in the story had come in boxes. So I grabbed it, took it home, sat it on the kitchen table, stared at it like it might blink. When I opened it, I gagged, not from the contents, but from the smell, like mothballs mixed with heat and something expired inside. A hoodie, dark blue, folded, still warm, a set of keys, a single Polaroid. The Polaroid was of me, sleeping, in bed, face turned toward the nightstand. Except in the photo, there was someone else in the frame, standing just behind the door, only half visible. Their face was mine, but older, eyes blank, skin pale, like something unfinished, or left in the sun too long. I dropped the photo, burned my tongue on black coffee just to stay anchored in my own body. And that's when the TV turned on. By itself. Volume up. Screen blue. Then static. Then footage of my living room. Live. From above. Just like the tape. Except now, I was watching myself. Watching the TV. I turned around. No camera. No light. No lens. Just the house. Breathing. Recording. Waiting. The signal cut out. TV went dark, then back to static, then off again. I didn't move for a long time. Couldn't, until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No ID. One text. Get out. He's almost finished. I replied. Who? No answer. Just 3 dots, like someone was typing, but changed their mind. That night I packed a bag. Just essentials. Toothbrush. Chargers. Keys, jacket, anything that reminded me I was still me, that I could leave, that the house didn't own me. Yet, I walked toward the door, turned the knob, and the hallway mirror, shattered, on its own, exploded, like a scream with glass vocal cords. Shards sprayed into the walls, the floor, my jacket, and behind it, behind the frame, wasn't drywall, wasn't wood. It was a passage. A narrow tunnel, just wide enough to crawl, leading somewhere, lit by a soft red glow, and the air The air smelled like old photos and sweat and something burnt. I didn't go in. Not then. But I dropped to my knees, and I listened, at the edge, to the sound crawling up from that passage. And I swear to God, I heard someone whisper my name. Reed. And then, laughter, faint, familiar, like mine, but broken. I backed away, called a Motel 6 towns over, booked a room, didn't care how cheap. I needed distance. I needed to breathe air that hadn't passed through him. Whoever or whatever he was. I walked out the door, locked it behind me, didn't look back. But as I pulled out the driveway, I glanced at Marcus's window, and the figure standing there wasn't Marcus. It wasn't me, but it smiled like it knew me, like it had always known me. And it waved, just once, before the curtain slid shut. The motel room smelled like bleach and memories. Thin walls, buzzing lamp, TV bolted to the dresser like it might run. But it was safe. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't being watched. At least I thought I wasn't, until I checked the drawer by the bed. Inside, a folded sheet of paper. Typed, no envelope, no hotel branding, just a message. The mirror is just the beginning. You opened it. Now it remembers you. I left immediately. Didn't check out. Didn't turn off the lights. Just walked out the door and sat in my car. Engine running. Hands shaking. Because it meant whatever this was, it wasn't tied to the house. It was tied to me. Or to him. I drove for hours. Back roads. Gas stations. Silent exits with names like Marble Ridge and Old Haven. Trying to think. Trying not to. But somewhere around 3:40 a.m., I turned around. Because running only works when you have somewhere to go. And I didn't. I just had questions. So I went back. Back to Bellwood Hills. Back to the house. Back to the mirror and the tunnel behind it. It was still there. Waiting. Frame cracked. Red glow pulsing softly like a heartbeat. I stepped in. One foot, then the other. The air inside was heavy, thick with dust and silence. The passage was tight. I had to crouch, shoulders scraping the sides. But I kept going, inch by inch, until I reached the red room. It wasn't what I expected. It was clean, too clean, floor swept, walls smooth, single overhead light, red bulb flickering above a chair, and in the chair, a monitor, old, chunky frame, plugged into nothing, still glowing, static, until it didn't, until it blinked, and my face appeared. Not a reflection, not a recording, live feed of me in the room, looking into the screen. Only I blinked, and the version in the monitor didn't. He just stared, unmoving, until he smiled and mouthed the words, "You're already here." I backed away, but my foot hit something. A box, another lockbox, unlabeled, no scratch marks, just a keypad. For digits, I stared at it, heart racing. Tried my birthday. Wrong. Tried the HOA code for the gate. Wrong. Then I remembered the VHS tapes. The years. What if they meant something? I tried the most recent. 2023. Click. The box opened. Inside, a cassette tape, a set of house keys, a birth certificate. Not mine. Marcus Langley. Born March 2nd, 1973. Deceased, blank. And beneath it, a file folder. Faded, water-stained, marked, HOA record inactive. Inside were pages of notes. Typed, annotated. Each one about previous residents of my home. And all of them had filed reports. Voices from behind the walls. Found objects not their own. Mirrors that don't match. Identities shifting. Someone else in their skin. And at the bottom of each report, case closed, patient unstable, relocated. They weren't victims. They were test subjects. And I was next, or already part of it, because tucked in the back of the folder was a list. Typed names, each crossed out. until the very last one. Uncrossed, fresh ink, Reed Matthews, Phase 7 initiated. I dropped the folder, ran, back through the tunnel, back into the house. But when I got to the hallway, the mirror was gone, frame empty, wall sealed, no tunnel, no passage, just plaster and paint, as if none of it had ever existed, as if the house had erased it, and now I was locked inside. The lights dimmed, TV turned on again, more static, then a face, mine, but older, like before, and this time he spoke. I heard it clearly. Stop running. You're already me. And then he laughed. The screen cracked, and the hallway lights blinked out, one by one, like a countdown, like a slow, creeping end. And somewhere down the hall, I heard my own voice, calling for help, from inside the house, from a version of me that hadn't yet escaped, or maybe never would. I stopped sleeping, not by choice, but because every time I closed my eyes, I woke up somewhere else, not in another house, not even in another town, but in another version of my life, with furniture I didn't buy, photos I didn't take, and reflections that weren't mine. It started slow. First, I found clothes in my closet that didn't fit, a coat too wide in the shoulders, shoes a size off, then books I'd never read, one with my handwriting in the margins, only I'd never seen the pages before. And every night, I'd hear that knock, the same knock, soft, deliberate, behind the mirror, 3 taps, then silence, then the sound of someone breathing. I tried to leave again, packed a bag, drove for 2 hours. Didn't matter. I'd fall asleep at a rest stop and wake up back in my bed, back in the house, back in his life. I started keeping a journal, short entries, trying to prove I was still me. Day 1, my name is Reed Matthews. Day 2, I was born in Tallahassee. Day 3, my mom's name was Hannah. Day 4, my reflection smiled first. Day 5, I can't remember my mother's face. Day 6, I woke up with blood on my hand. Day 7, the hallway mirror is back. That's what terrified me most. The mirror, it returned, exactly where it had been. Unbroken, polished, almost new, like the house had restored it, or rebuilt it for him. I watched it for hours, refused to walk past it, set up a camera, let it record. When I watched the footage back, it was empty. The hallway was blank. No mirror, no table, no me, just white walls and silence, like the house was editing its own footage, controlling what I was allowed to remember. Then came the knock, not from the hallway, from under the floor. I pulled back the rug. Nothing, just hardwood. But when I pressed my ear to the planks, I heard it, typing, the rhythmic click of keys, fast, repetitive, like someone writing or recording. I pried open the floorboards at night, hands blistered, nails cracked. Underneath, another tunnel, different from before. This one was vertical, a metal ladder leading down, carved into the top rung. A message, "Welcome back, Reed." I shouldn't have climbed down. I know that now, but something pulled me, not physically, just inevitably. And when I reached the bottom, I found the archive room. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, rows and rows of shelves, metal cabinets, old monitors flickering with blue light, and hundreds, no, thousands of tapes, all labeled, all numbered, some handwritten, some typed. Case file Lane 14B, subject Dina J. Review log 2879, observer Langley M. Reconstruct phase, subject RM. That one stopped me, RM. Reed Matthews. My initials, my file. I pulled it, opened it. Inside, copies of my medical records, my lease agreement, a background check, pages of handwritten notes, all about my habits, what time I leave the house, what food I buy, what I used to dream about, how often I check the mirror. Someone had been studying me for months, maybe longer. And then a photo dated 1 year before I moved in. Me, standing outside the house. Except I hadn't even heard of Bellwood Hills a year ago. I didn't live in this state. I dropped the folder, backed into a cabinet, and behind me, another monitor clicked on. The screen glowed. Footage played. Me, in the archive room, watching myself watch. A perfect loop, but the timestamp? 2031. I turned, searched the room, but it was empty, except for one more door. Steel, heavy, labeled. Simulation control, authorized personnel only. It slid open without resistance. Inside, a small circular room, with 8 monitors lining the wall, each one showing a different house, a different version of the same living room, same sofa, same walls, same mirror, and in each one, a different version of me, doing the same thing, staring, searching, breaking down, slowly, methodically, like we were being tested, measured, replaced. I fell to my knees, started screaming. The sound felt like it didn't belong to me, like it was pre-recorded, looped, and on the screen in front of me, the version of me stopped screaming, stood up, stared directly at the camera, and whispered, "Only one of us gets out." Then the room went black, monitors off, door sealed shut, silence, and somewhere in the dark, I heard the sound of typing again, this time faster, urgent, right above me, right in my house. I don't remember climbing back up the ladder. 1 second I was in the dark. The next, I was standing in my kitchen, staring at a pot of boiling water. But I hadn't turned on the stove. And inside the pot, there were no noodles, no eggs, no soup, just a single key, rusty, still cold, like it had never been in the water at all. I turned off the burner, sat on the floor, held the key like it was the last real object in the world. And that's when I noticed the timestamp, engraved into the metal, 12 hours, 19 minutes, 73 seconds. I didn't recognize the date, not at first, but when I looked through the old HOA files I found in the archive room, I saw it, December 19th, 1973, the day Bellwood Hills was officially incorporated. But that wasn't all. It was also the birth date of Marcus Langley, or the version of him they gave me, the HOA president, the watcher, the first one to wave, the one who... No, I saw him. I know I saw him. But when I pulled up the neighborhood database, his name was gone. No Marcus Langley. No record. No address listed across the street. Just a word. Unassigned unit. And beside it, access. Observer only. I started checking other addresses. Mine, 714 Brook Hollow Lane, marked test subject, Phase 7. Unit next door, Phase 5, terminated. The house behind me, Phase 4, unstable, quarantined. Each one of us, a number, an experiment. Not just watched, engineered. I couldn't breathe. I pulled the blinds open, looked across the street, and there was again the window, curtains closed, no silhouette, no shadow, but a piece of paper taped to the glass from inside. Big, bold font. Your access level has been revoked. The next time I blinked, I was in the hallway, staring into the mirror, but not my reflection. Not anymore. This version was wrong. Subtly, slightly, just enough. He blinked slower, smiled sooner, and when I tilted my head, he didn't. He just raised one hand and pointed right behind me. I turned. No one was there, but when I looked back, the mirror was empty. Just my hallway. No reflection, like it refused to show me myself. Or worse, it didn't know who to show anymore. That night I dreamed of doors, endless doors, each one labeled with a name I used to recognize. Some said Reed, some said Marcus, some said nothing, just numbers. And when I opened them, each one led to the same hallway, same mirror, same monitor playing the same footage. Me, staring back, asking to be let out. When I woke up, I wasn't home. I was sitting in Marcus's living room, on his couch, TV on, no sound, and on the wall was a framed photo of me, not recent, not even from this year. It was me from college, my dorm hallway, wearing my favorite hoodie, the same one I lost years ago. I stood up slowly, looked around, same wallpaper, same carpet, same lamp from my childhood bedroom. Wait, no, that couldn't be. But when I stepped into the kitchen, it was my mother's kitchen. Exactly, down to the dent in the fridge door and the sun-faded curtain. And on the counter, a birthday cake, one candle, one word, remember. Then I blinked again, and I was back in my house. Lights on, TV off, but the door across the hall, open, even though I always kept it closed, even though it led to nothing, just a broom closet. Except now, inside, stairs, leading down, lit by soft white bulbs, the kind they use in medical rooms, the kind that hum when everything else goes quiet. And on the first step down, a small plaque, observation deck, final access. I should have run, but I didn't. I walked down slowly, each step a memory, each light a whisper. And when I reached the bottom, I understood. This wasn't a house. Not anymore. It was a containment site for memories that didn't belong, for people who no longer existed, at least not in the world above, not in the way we think of real, because at the end of the hallway, in a glass chamber, was a chair, and strapped into it was me, unmoving, eyes wide open, breathing, barely, and watching a screen that was showing me, standing outside the glass, watching him, watching myself, watching this forever. And on the glass, written in marker, one phrase, only one of you gets to wake up. I stared at myself through the glass. His eyes were open, breathing shallow, muscles still. He looked like me, but also like someone who hadn't moved in a long time, like someone who never had. I raised a hand. He didn't. I spoke. He didn't blink. It was like he was watching something else, something deeper than the screen, as if whatever played in his mind wasn't what I could see, but something only he remembered, something I had forgotten, or was forced to forget. On the floor beside the chamber, another folder. This one was different. Black cover, sealed, marked in red. Merge protocol, final stage. I opened it. One sheet of paper. Typed, simple. Subject, R. Matthews. Status, divergence detected. Action, initiate reintegration or terminate residual. Location, observation deck / memory core. Note, mirror cycle complete. Identity loop must be closed. Only one version may remain. I looked back at the man in the glass. Was he the real me? Was I, or were we both just copies of someone who no longer existed? I stepped closer. The screen he was watching flickered. Footage changed. Grainy home video. A backyard. Children playing. A woman calling someone in for dinner. Then, my voice. Young. Laughing. Saying a name I hadn't heard in decades. Mom. And in that moment, it all cracked. Not just the screen. Not just the mirror. My memory. Shattered. All at once. I remembered the basement. I remembered the accident. The fire. The men in white suits. The contract I signed. How they told me I wouldn't feel a thing. Just one last dream. Before I woke up in a newer, better version of myself. One without pain. One without grief. But I had felt it. Every second. Every panic. Every mirror I looked into and knew something was wrong. They never erased it. They just buried it. Under simulation after simulation. And now the loop was ending. A voice came over the intercom. Neutral. Robotic. But somehow familiar. Subject. R. Matthews. Reintegration begins in 60 seconds. Please return to seated position. Non-compliance will result in termination. I backed up. No. Louder. No. I didn't come all this way to be reabsorbed. I didn't survive 7 phases to disappear. I had one chance, one move left. I reached for the emergency release beside the chamber. A switch, protected under glass. I broke it open, pulled it. An alarm went off. Lights turned red. Gas hissed from the vents. Inside the chamber, the other me blinked. Once, twice, and then he moved. He looked at me, eyes wide, terrified, mouth moving. No sound, but I could read the lips. Let me out. Was he begging, or was it a trick? Would I be freeing him, or dooming myself? I hesitated. Seconds ticking. A panel behind me slid open. The exit, a ladder, a light at the top. Escape, maybe real this time. Maybe not. I looked back at the chamber, at the version of me now screaming silently, pounding the glass. And I knew one of us was never real. And it didn't matter who, because whatever I chose next would become the truth forever. I ran, past the monitors, past the whirring machines and blinking lights, up the ladder, toward the light. I didn't look back, didn't say goodbye, didn't watch the chamber flood with gas, because I couldn't risk hesitating again, not when freedom was this close. I emerged into daylight, real daylight, grass under my feet, wind in my face, no static, no screens, just silence, pure, unfiltered, alive. The sun hurt, in the best way, like someone pressing reset on my skin. And across the street, a woman waved from her porch, smiled, not like Marcus did, not like he used to, just real, genuine, normal. Nice day, isn't it? She called out. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I said, for the first time in a long time, it actually is. I went back inside, checked every room. No mirror, no VHS tapes, no secret doors, just a house, just walls, just me. And that night, I slept, not because I was exhausted, but because finally, I wasn't being watched. Or maybe I was, but this time, I was okay with it, because I was the only version that got to wake up.